Welcome to Shining Waters Yoga. This is class number 2 in our low back and hamstring series. For this class, I'm going to recommend that you have a blanket. You may or may not need one, and also a yoga strap. And again, if you don't have a strap, a belt will do, or a dog leash, anything that's long enough that you can, and sturdy enough that you can use it as a strap. So let's get started. For this series, we are going to be on our knees for a little bit. So you may want to fold your blanket about like that size, get a little bit of padding, and place it on your mat. And then we'll go ahead and come to hands and knees. Knees are hip width apart, hands are shoulder width apart, wrists pretty much in line with your shoulders. And go ahead and sink your hips back. And right here, you may notice if your hips are really tight, they may be a little more elevated. Now you could, I didn't say have a block, but if you have blocks, you could stack 1 or 2 blocks and let your hips rest on those blocks. You can work on taking your knees a little bit wider and feel that stretch in the hips. You could also use a block for your head to rest on. And take a minute and pause here. This is our starting posture. So just start to tune in. Notice if the hips feel tight, if you're feeling this in the lower back. Breathe into your back body and just sigh it out. Ha. Breathe in through your nose. And exhale and sigh it out. One more time. Inhale. Sigh it out. And then inhale and start to come back up into your table pose. Walk your knees back in so that they're hip width apart. You won't need this guy anymore. Won't need that guy anymore. So from here, we're just going to kind of move back and forth into a little cat and cow, inhaling and arching your spine, looking forward, and exhaling and drawing your belly to your spine, starting to round your back. Now, if this is too much for your knees and you need a break, you can totally do this seated, simply inhaling and drawing the elbows back and arching the spine, and exhaling and rounding. So inhaling and arching, and exhaling and rounding. Always be mindful here. If you have any bone loss, osteoporosis, osteopenia, or weakness in the spine, then don't do that big rounding. Just inhale, look forward, arch the spine. And as you exhale, just firm your belly in and come to a neutral position. And I would suggest doing it seated rather than hands and knees, if that's the case. Otherwise, healthy spine, go ahead and flex the spine. We're warming up those muscles of the back. Inhale, look forward, and exhale and draw the belly in. And then go ahead, inhale, look forward, arch the spine. Exhale, sink those hips back to child's pose. Inhale back up into cow pose, arching the spine. Exhale, firm the belly in and sink the hips back. And just move back and forth with your breath a few times. Inhale forward and exhale back. Inhale forward, arching the spine, and exhale and drawing back. If you want, you could pause here again for a few breaths if this feels good. So the knees closer together, you're going to feel a little more stretch in the lower back if you need that nice stretch there. Knees wide apart is more of a hip stretch, but you still get into the lower back. And then coming back to center, again, check and make sure your wrists shoulder width apart, knees hip width apart. Go ahead and stretch to that right leg. So pressing back through the heel, the ball of the foot's on the floor. Start to stretch the muscles in the back of the leg, getting into that hamstring a little bit, in the back of the calf. And then we'll lift that leg up. Big toe is pointed down. Reach your left arm out. Keep the belly firm here. Don't let yourself go into a sway back. That's not good for the lower back. So this helps to strengthen the lower back muscles while we're stretching the leg, and then release it down. We'll go to the other side. Straighten the left leg, press through that heel, get that nice stretch. Breathe. And then lift that leg up, big toe down. So you don't want to lift it up way high, just parallel to the floor. Right arm out. Keep the belly firm. If you start to lose your balance, you can always take the hand down. Reach, 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 and lower. So we're just going to move back and forth a little bit here. Straighten your right leg and left arm. Reach and stretch. And bring it down. And left leg, right arm. You could always, if you had a wall behind you, you could press your foot into the wall. That feels really good. Straighten the right leg and the left hand, left arm. Keep the belly firm. Left leg, right arm. Let's do one more on each side. And left side, right arm. And bring it down. Inhale forward and exhale back to child's. One more time. So from here, we're going to come forward onto our bellies. I'm going to just move my blanket out of the way and pause for a moment in Sphinx pose. So your elbows are under your shoulders, palms face down. Imagine that you're drawing the front of the mat towards you. Lengthen your spine. You can wiggle the hips a little bit side to side. The toes are untucked. Look forward, breathe. And as you exhale, start to lift the hips up. So you can pause here, or if you like, you could tuck your toes and come into a forearm plank. So again, strengthening the core a little bit is also going to help our lower back. And you can hold for a few breaths, or when you're ready, you can release the knees down, release the bellies down, untuck the toes, and just pause for a moment and rest. So from here, we're going to take the arms out to the side, tenting the fingers like spiders. Move my strap out of the way. Turn the palms in just slightly, and then inhaling, lift up a little bit. So you're just trying it out the first time. Breathe and exhale and lower. And notice, so if you feel any tightening here in the lower back, any pinching, then go ahead and come back to your forearm plank. You're just going to stay with that. Otherwise, lifting up into this little different version of cobra pose. And exhale down. One more time. We're going to inhale, press down with those fingertips. Lift up, look forward, and exhale down. And then from here, one more time, let's come back to the forearms. Palms face down, elbows under shoulders. And go ahead and either stay in Sphinx pose. You have two choices, pausing here, or walk your hands underneath your shoulders, press down into a cobra, start to lift up. Draw the shoulders back. Keep the elbows in. Maybe lift up a little bit higher into sort of a lazy up dog. If you want to come all the way into up dog, you lift your legs. Sometimes this feels really good for the back. Again, it's going to depend on what you're dealing with your lower back. So sometimes this nice arch, back bending can feel really good. If you feel any pinching at all, draw the belly in, come back, and we'll all come all the way back into child's pose and rest. Breathe. And then from here, come back to table pose. We're going to come down onto the forearms while the knees are bent. You can use your blanket again under the knees if you want. I'm not going to use mine for this one. So elbows are shoulder width apart. Go ahead, interlace your hands, tuck your toes, and lift your hips up into dolphin pose. So you're going to feel a really deep stretch here in the backs of the legs, the hamstrings, the gastrocnemius, even into the muscles around your ankles, Achilles tendon, plantar fascia. It's a great stretch, dolphin pose. Some of you, your head might actually rest on the ground. Some it might be hanging a little bit.
Press into those forearms and lift your hips up a little higher. Anytime you need a break, you can bring the knees back down, but enjoy this stretch. You could always come in and out of it, pausing to release and coming back. Breathe. This is a great alternative to downward facing dog as well. Breathe in and release those knees down. When you're ready, pause in your child's pose. And then go ahead, come all the way back up. Tuck your toes. This time we'll lift the hips all the way up into downward facing dog. So fingers are spread wide, pressing down to the base of the index finger and the thumb. The feet are hip width apart. So if they're way far apart, step your feet in. And if this is too much with the hands, now remember you're pushing the floor away, so you're lifting up through your hips. If it's still too much, come back into that dolphin pose. And then bring the knees back down, sink into child's pose, rest. You could even take the arms behind you back towards your feet. So one more posture today. When you're ready, lift up out of your child's pose, shift your hips to the side. We're going to bring the legs forward. So Paschimottanasana, it's a forward bend, really great for the hamstrings, but a lot of people, if you're doing it wrong, if you're sinking into your lower back and rounding, not so good for the low back. Now, it's a great lower back stretch if you're doing it properly. So if you've got tight hamstrings, I'm going to ask you to take your blanket and roll it into a nice little roll and place it under your knees. And here's where you might want that strap that you have. Now, you could also, if you have a second blanket, you could sit up on that blanket, and that's going to help to tilt your pelvis forward. So I didn't bring two blankets today. I'm just going to use the one. From here, press down to the backs of the knees. Keep your feet flexed. Sit up nice and tall. Inhale your arms over your head. Reach a little bit higher. And exhale and hinge forward. Inhale, lift from your sternum right here. Exhale, hinge forward a little bit more. Let the hands come down wherever they rest, to the mat or to the shins, or some of you might be able to touch your feet and feel that stretch. Now for some of you, you're going to take the strap around the balls of the feet. Come on back up. Inhale, lift from the sternum, so nice straight back, and exhale, hinge forward any amount. So we're not trying to bring the head to the knees and round and cave in here. We want to keep lifted up through this lower back and then hinging forward. Hold and breathe. This is our last posture today. I'm going to show you the alternative while you guys are sitting there in your forward fold. You could be sitting up on the blanket, and again, that will help to tilt your pelvis forward. Take that strap around the balls of the feet, sit up nice and tall, press down through the backs of your thighs and your shins, and exhale and hinge forward. Breathe in, breathe out. Now, if you don't need the strap, you might have the hands to the toes. I imagine if your hamstrings are tight, you're probably not touching your feet, so it's great to have that strap. And if you don't have a strap, you can just have your hands to the floor. You can exhale and imagine drawing the floor towards you as you reach. Breathe and get that stretch. And then gently walk your hands back up, drawing the feet in. From here, you could either come back to seated, or you could lie on your back. Stretch your legs out, let the hands come out to the sides. Notice how you feel. You can remain for several minutes in Shavasana.
or come back to sit and check in. Notice how you feel. Notice how the legs, the hips, and the back feel. Bringing the hands together in front of the heart. Thank you for joining me for this series. I hope you feel better. Live well, be well. Namaste.